Hello everyone. This short video is about the work we're doing to improve the curriculum and how we're improving it for your children. So I'm going to talk about that and just to give you a context of why we're changing it and the sorts of things that we are changing. So to start with, the reasons why we're changing it. Well, you might not be aware, but in the past, schools have, primary schools in particular, have focused on standards in English and maths. And that's because standards in English and maths are published every year in league tables, but also that's also been the focus of Ofsted, the way that schools are inspected and judged in their effectiveness. And what this has meant is that the curriculum, the things that they do in school, all the things they learn, has narrowed and it's become focused on English and maths in primary school, which has meant that children haven't experienced all the things that they should do. They haven't learnt about all the things that they should have done in the depth that they need for secondary school. I've got secondary school teachers in my family. Both my sisters are secondary school teachers, and they're always moaning at me all the time about, what do you do in primary school? And they're both art teachers. These children can't draw. They come to us and they haven't had any experiences. And sadly, as I said, what's happened is that the curriculum in primary school over the last, since I've been a teacher, over the last 20 years, has narrowed and focused primarily on English and maths. But that's got to change, and that has changed. So now, lots of schools are realising how important the wider curriculum is, because children don't have the general knowledge that they need to be successful in secondary school. Also, without that general knowledge, it makes it very difficult to learn new things. And also, it makes it very difficult to understand what you're reading if you don't know about the wider world, and if you don't know, have a basic knowledge in geography, history, science, art, music, etc. So that's why the curriculum's changing. It is changing, and Ofsted, when they come to visit schools, now what they do is they look at the whole curriculum. They're not just focused on English and maths, which in my opinion is a good thing. So what we've done is as a staff, we've come together and we've talked about what we want our curriculum to be, what our aims of our curriculum are. So these are them. I'm going to read through them. So we want our curriculum to inspire curiosity and build resilience in the pursuit of excellence. If you notice in that sentence, we've got three of our school values: curiosity, resilience. We've got two of our values and one of our RBOTs. Curiosity and excellence are values, and resilience is one of our RBOTs. We also want to engage all learners and use the idea of mirrors and windows to help children understand their community and the wider world. When we say mirrors and windows, what we mean is we want the curriculum to be like a mirror to reflect back their own life experiences, but we also want it to be like a window and it opening up and showing the children what opportunities there are out there and what's out there in the wider world. We want to build hope and integrity within our school family. We want to integrate the most effective teaching methods based on current research. As a school, we are really we consider how we teach and the methods we use all the time, and that's very important to us so that we are as effective as we can be. We also want to foster a culture of learning where taking risks, challenging oneself, and the process of learning is celebrated. So it's about understanding ourselves as learners. How do we learn best? And if we don't learn best in this way, how can we get better at learning in that way? We also want to teach subject-specific knowledge and skills, making meaningful links across the curriculum. And I'm going to talk about knowledge a little bit more, but knowledge is really, really important to help children learn more. Because really, when you think about learning, what the definition of learning is a persistent change to what you know. And it's, learning is about increasing the amount of things that you know. So to understand this a bit better, I've got a diagram for you. This is a man called Daniel Willingham. It's his simple model of memory. So it's how memory works, because, that's what learning is. It's a persistent change to your memory, really. It's about what you know. And so the way that this model works, I'll quickly go through it. So first of all, I'm over here in the Pentagon. You have your environment, and what your environment does is that you move your environment, and you live in your environment, and then things get your attention, and you can see that up there. There's a little arrow that says attention, and when something captures your attention, you start thinking about it. So I'm over here in the working memory. Now your working memory is quite small. This is why this rectangle is quite small. It can't hold that much information. It can hold maybe 3 to 5 things. That's why we find it difficult when we get given lots of information to remember it all, because our working memory can't cope with it. Now, when you're working memory, you have things in your working memory, and you can start to learn them. And the more that you do things in your working memory, then what happens is it goes down to learning. You learn it, and it goes into your long-term memory. Now, when you're in your long-term memory is massive. They actually think that it's as big as it needs to be, so it's almost infinite in size. It just keeps going and going, which is why you can remember strange things from when you were really young. It's like, why haven't I forgotten that? Because it's in there. I get it sometimes when I hear an old song from the 1980s and I know all the words. It's like, well, how have I remembered that? Because it's in my long-term memory and it's remembered. And what happens is that there is this relationship between your long-term memory and your working memory. So when things are in your working memory, when you have a new piece of knowledge, then what you'll do is you'll use information from your long-term memory, you'll use knowledge from your long-term memory to help you make sense of it. So you'll experience something new, and your brain will be thinking, where have I experienced something like this before? Do I know anything like this? And then that will help you think about it, and it will help you put it into your knowledge, put it into your long-term memory. Now, you obviously do forget some things, and it goes out of your long-term memory. And your working memory, you're more likely to forget things that are in your working memory. It's like when you ask somebody for directions and you stop them, and you're concentrating, and you walk away, and it's like, I can't remember it. And that's maybe because you haven't had anything to hang it on, particularly if you're in a new town that you don't know. It's easier in a town that you know, because they can say, well, you just go down there and you know that pub and such. Then it's your long-term memory and your working memory working together. So this is what happens in the brain. And this model is very important to us as educators, as teachers, and we need to design our curriculum in a way that makes the most of this. Right, we're going to go into the brain. We're in the brain. Okay, so this is synapses in the brain. And what happens in your brain is that links are made between these synapses. So when you learn things, links are made. So that's what's happening in your long-term memory. So from a very early age, you start making these links. And you start making these synaptic pathways are caused when you learn things. And you can think about it in a simpler way. Here's this diagram. I'm over here. And what this diagram shows us is the role of knowledge in learning. So if you think about knowledge as little pockets of little parcels of information. So this person below me, they know a bit about maths. So they know the word maths, they know times, they know addition, they know the symbol add, they know 4 plus 4 plus 4, they know an array, which is that diagram with the dots, which shows you what 4 plus 4 plus 4 looks like. They know the number 4 and they know the number 3. And this is this information that's all connected. It's all connected because it's all related and you've learnt it. Now, what happens is that when a new piece of information comes in, so for example, when you're learning the concept of multiplication, timesing, then all these other bits of knowledge help you understand multiplication. So because you know the word times and addition and iteration, and you know what an array looks like, you know the number 3, you know the number 4, you know repeated addition, then you can make sense of this multiplication, this new concept when it arrives. If you didn't have all that prior knowledge, if you didn't know those things, then you'd find it really difficult to understand. And eventually you do understand it and it becomes part of your long-term memory. So what's really important about this though is that understanding that this knowledge, the new knowledge, needs old knowledge to work, for you to be able to understand it. And this diagram really shows it well. So I want you to think that these bits, these triangles, are knowledge. So you've got new knowledge, which is orange, and you've got the old orange down the bottom, which is grey. Now, this person hasn't got much old knowledge. They haven't got much prior knowledge. And the new knowledge falls down and it goes in. And you kind of learnt it, but there are gaps in your learning. As you can see, there's gaps along the bottom. So when the new knowledge, these two new orange ones, fall down over here, they can't fit into the structure of your knowledge, so you don't learn them. And that's the problem with a curriculum that isn't designed thinking about children's knowledge and making sure that children acquire knowledge and get new information. What happens is that the information comes in, they're taught it, but they don't retain it. And they're not able to use that knowledge to help them understand things. So this is a diagram of somebody who's got that base of knowledge. So this person has got a really good prior knowledge. You can see it over here. Sorry, my fingers aren't working very well. And you can see they've got this real bed of grey triangles, which is what they know already. The orange triangles come in and they just fit. And then some more new knowledge comes in, these two orange triangles, and they just fit because the knowledge is there and helps you build it. So those diagrams that we had help you understand that without knowledge, it's very difficult to learn new things. So we use prior knowledge, what you know before, to help us make sense of new learning, new knowledge. So as a school, we're redesigning our curriculum. We're redesigning our curriculum to make sure that all our subjects have a really clear progression, making sure that in reception, for example, you learn this, and then on year 1, you build on this, year 2, year 3, year 4, and so on. And we're making space within our curriculum to give children the time to learn those things and to make sure that they do have that knowledge moving forward. So this is the model we're using. Hello, I'm in the middle. So we have been looking at the science of learning, which is what I've just been talking about, and the way to design a curriculum. So we've been doing that first of all, which is this one here. And then we've been preparing things in the background, which is this one over here, which is where we define what we are intending to teach, and all the things in the background which enable the progression to be across our curriculum. And what we're doing now is we're moving into the deliver phase. So after Christmas, we're going to be doing quite a lot of work on the way that our curriculum is implemented and helping us understand assessment. So helping us understand what children know and what we need to teach them next. And then eventually what we'll do is we'll keep reviewing our curriculum and assessing the impact of the work that we've done. So this is our plans for our curriculum. Why are we doing all this? Well, we're doing all this because it's so important for the children. Our curriculum needs to be designed in a way so that it builds on prior knowledge, on what you know already. Our curriculum also needs to be designed in this way to enable children to make logical links between what they learn, so that they're not overwhelmed with new information, but so they can make sense of that new information using their long-term memory. Our curriculum will also give them time to repeat those key concepts that they need to know and develop a deeper understanding of. So there are certain things, the concept of green plants, that there's so many things that you need to know about a green plant, and when in primary school about a green plant is essential so that you can understand green plants at secondary school. And if you go on to university, or you get a job as a horticulturalist, or you work with plants, then you'll continue to build on your knowledge. So this is why we've got key concepts that we repeat. But most importantly for us is that children are ready to access the secondary curriculum, because knowledge is so important. And this man here, his name is Michael F.D. Young. He's an educationalist. He's a great thinker, and what he says is that knowledge is an entitlement for all pupils. The purpose of school is to enable all students to acquire knowledge that takes them beyond their experiences. Access to knowledge is the right of all pupils as future citizens. And I strongly agree with what he's saying. I think that knowledge is the right of all pupils as future citizens. They should have access to the same amount of information, because there are so many things in people's lives which are unfair and are not equal, that this one thing I think should be equal. And as a staff, we agree with this principle. So that's us. Oh, sorry, I'm up here. Let me bring myself down a little bit bigger. So that's where we are with our curriculum. We continue to develop it all the time, and we are working on it. I'll keep you updated with our plans in the future, but I thought I'd just make this video to explain to you what we're doing at the moment. Okay, well, thank you for listening today. Take lots of care. Bye-bye.